Convert to Islam. I was standing in the hospital corridor at 3 a.m., exhausted from my shift as a nurse in London. An elderly Muslim patient had been under my care for weeks. Terminal cancer, constant pain. Yet every time I entered her room, she greeted me with the most peaceful smile I'd ever seen. Tonight was different. Her breathing had become labored. I administered her medication and couldn't help but ask the question that had been burning inside me for days. How do you endure this pain with such patience? How can you smile when your body is failing you? She looked at me with eyes that seemed to hold an ancient wisdom and said, "I am Muslim. My Lord commanded me to be patient during trials, and he promised me a reward for it in the afterlife. This pain is temporary, but his mercy is eternal." She died the next morning, and something inside me broke open that day. I went home and cried for hours, not just for her, but for myself. I realized I had been running on empty for years. My life was a cycle of work, parties, failed relationships, and an emptiness I tried to fill with everything except what actually mattered. I had been raised Christian, attended church sporadically, but it all felt like rituals without meaning. Words that went in one ear and out the other. The patient's face haunted me. Her peace in the face of death contrasted sharply with my anxiety in the face of life. I started researching Islam online, initially out of curiosity, maybe even skepticism. I wanted to understand what gave her that strength. I downloaded a Quran translation on my phone and began reading during my lunch breaks. The first verses I read felt like they were speaking directly to me. It was as if someone had opened a door in a dark room and light was pouring in. The clarity, the logic, the way it addressed the soul. It was unlike anything I had experienced before. But I pushed it away. Converting to Islam. Me? A British woman who loved her freedom, her wine on weekends, her short dresses. It seemed impossible. Weeks turned into months. I couldn't stop reading. I found myself waking up earlier, not for work, but to read more. I watched videos of converts sharing their stories. People from every background, every walk of life, all describing the same thing. A sense of coming home. Yet I was terrified. What would my family say? My friends? Would I lose everything? On that one evening, I was walking through the city center when I heard it, the call to prayer echoing from a nearby mosque. I had heard it before, many times, but this time it penetrated differently. The Arabic words, though I didn't understand them, stirred something deep within my chest. I stood frozen on the sidewalk, people rushing past me while tears streamed down my face. I couldn't explain it then, but I felt like I was being called. Not just by the voice, but by something far greater. That night, I made a decision. I contacted a local mosque and asked to speak with someone. A kind sister met me the next day. I told her everything, my fears, my doubts, my attraction to Islam, and my terror of change. She listened without judgment and said something I'll never forget. Allah guides whom He wills. If He has brought you this far, He won't abandon you now. I took my Shahada the following week. When I said those words, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is His messenger. I felt a weight lift from my shoulders that I didn't even know I was carrying. The sisters at the mosque hugged me, cried with me, and welcomed me into a sisterhood I had never experienced before. But the real challenges began after that euphoric moment. Telling my family was the hardest thing I've ever done. My mother cried and said she felt like she was losing me. My father stopped speaking to me for months. Friends distanced themselves. Some made cruel comments online. I lost my social circle almost overnight. There were days I questioned everything. Days when I prayed through tears, asking Allah if I had made the right choice. Days when I struggled to wake up for Fajr prayer, when I stumbled through learning Arabic, when I felt completely alone. But then there were the other days. The days when I prayed and felt an overwhelming sense of peace wash over me. The days when I read Quran and found answers to questions I didn't even know I had. The days when my new Muslim sisters checked on me, brought me food, taught me how to pray properly, and reminded me that I was never alone because Allah was always with me. Slowly, I began to change from the inside out. The emptiness that had defined my 20s began to fill with purpose. I started volunteering at the mosque, helping other converts navigate their journeys. I learned that my story wasn't just for me. It was meant to be shared, to help others who were searching just like I had been. My mother eventually came around. She saw that Islam hadn't taken her daughter away. It had given her daughter peace, direction, and genuine happiness. She still doesn't understand my choice, but she respects it. And that's enough for now. Looking back at that elderly patient who died in my care, I realize she was my angel. Allah used her final days on earth to plant a seed in my heart. Her smile in the face of death became my gateway to life. She never knew that her simple answer to my question would change my entire existence. Today, when people ask me about my conversion, I tell them it wasn't about rejecting who I was. It was about finally becoming who I was meant to be. Islam didn't take away my identity. It revealed my true one. The girl who was lost in the noise of the world found silence, clarity, and purpose in submission to her Creator. Every day is still a journey. I'm not a perfect Muslim. I struggle, I make mistakes, I learn. But I wake up with purpose now. I know why I'm here, where I'm going, and who is guiding me. And that elderly patient's smile. I finally understand it. It's the smile of someone who knows that this life is temporary, but faith is eternal.